Master Bruce, have you seen these reports on the news?
Nope, just got in. What is it?
I say, sir, it would seem that a ruffian calling himself the Juggernaut is rampaging through downtown Gotham.
Never heard of him. Maybe I'll go and have a conversation with him.
A word, if I may be so bold, sir. He seems to be a rather large fellow. Perhaps you should dress for the occasion.
Noted. What do you have in mind? What is up, my ninjas? I am STRYDENT, and I am coming to you with another action figure review. This time I'm a lot happier than I have been, and I've been happy in a lot of my other reviews because, like I said, I'm making a stand to only review shit that makes me happy. For the most part. Every now and then I will have a complaint here and there, or have a reason to snap on folks. One is actually on the way. But anyway, this has made me decide to get back into DC Collectibles. I'm going to continue taking a chance with them because this figure is showing that not only are they trying to improve on what they're already good at, but they really are taking things out of the comics and just making them a reality, and that is what collecting action figures, especially about superhero action figures, that's what it's all about. This figure, it's twofold for me. It shows that Greg Capullo and Scott Snyder were actually, they have to be fans of Batman Brave and the Bold, because he has a bat exosuit of some sort, or like the Batmobile turns into a armor. I think it's just an armor, and he had it in the Batman also, and they finally made it like a part of the like real Batman universe in comics. You know, it's not like an offshoot. It's not like I mean, technically, I guess the New 52 is an offshoot. It is its own reality, but now it is Batman comics. So there you go. So anyway, this thing is one of those, it's like the cherry on top of my Batman arsenal. When the shit hits the fan, Batman can jump into this and take on, super powered beings, and it actually looks like he could stand up to someone like Superman in this. I know in the Court of Owls storyline, the suit was practically done when he was finished using it against, the assassins, but I really think this version in my universe, I would have it be so much stronger, and it's so heavy and so just massive that I feel like he would put in enough, so that he could actually deal with superhuman threats and not just the average threat. And calling it a Thrasher suit, that sounds stupid because he thrashes people every night, you know what I mean? I would have probably called this thing the Berserker, so that way activate Berserker. Everyone knows what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying? You see those words, it's like, shit, Batman's lost it. It's done. But I love it. It also kind of adds that vulnerability, because if you think about it, he has to be getting his ass whooped to want to put on this big old suit. But let me tell you some more about it. So we're talking sculpt and paint here. Just look at it. It's weird. This is one of the few times where an American company, I shouldn't say few times, because I've always said that Marvel Select and DC Collectibles have always, they tend to blow things out of the water when they're on top of their games, or their collective games. But more so Marvel Select than DC Collectibles. But this feels like a Marvel Select figure. The weight, the heft of it, the details, the way that the articulation works, it feels like an oversized, and you know, even for Marvel Selects, oversized is kind of an understatement because they're all oversized because they're their own scale. But this feels like, you know, how it felt to get the Marvel Select Juggernaut. It was a huge figure. It weighed like what, a pound or two, probably a little more than that. He had the perfect articulation for the big ass body that he had, and he didn't need any more. And even though you couldn't just put him in every pose, you kind of are like, wow, looking at how he's sculpted and looking at his proportions, I don't think he could get into a lot of these poses, you know? When you look at this thing is deceptively posable for such a huge figure. But we're not talking about posability. But the sculpt and everything works with everything. It's engineered pretty well. A lot of people said that their joints were frozen on their figures. Mine weren't. I heat them up out of fear. You know, I'll heat the figure up, put him in the, you know, over my heater, or put him in some hot water just to get things to move, get all the paint to be loose. And it worked out that really well. There's no slop on my figure. None whatsoever. Everything is painted. Everything is, you know, full coverage. Now, I told you before, as you saw in the early part of this video and in my past one, I switched heads. So there's a Batman head under this, because I see no reason why you would put Bruce Wayne's head under this when clearly it's got a bat insignia, got a utility belt. That means he's got his game face on. There's no need for you to put the Bruce Wayne head on. This head comes from the, let's see, this comes from the Batman Unlimited gray and black Batman. They also use this one on the Yellow Lantern Batman, and there's another one somewhere down the line back there. But anyway, I feel like this one looks like the kind of mood that Batman would be in if he puts this suit on. And the paint was good on this one, so I figured, hey, I'll just make this part of this suit, and I won't mind if the horns get bent or whatever. It's my least favorite head, but I finally found a situation that it actually fits, you know? But it's beautiful. This is one of those times where, like I said, they blew this shit out of the water. I saw it, and I had to pick it up because I was like, it's just too dope, you know? And I had been watching reviews, and I'm going to really go in on this figure, you know? And I don't mean that in a bad way. There's nothing negative for me to say. I have one complaint, and it's the complaint anytime this is done. And, you know, it doesn't have anything to do with the sculpt or the paint. All the paint work, all the sculpt work. I mean, he's mostly, you know, shades of metallic shades. So, you know, it's a lot of brush work, dry brushing, and a lot of, there's like a little bit of a black wash going on in some places so that it can kind of accentuate the rivets and some of the cracks and just that overall concrete-ish, you know, heavy steel, you know, armored texture. You know, it helps pop, make it look more weathered. There's a lot of texturing throughout. It's subtle texturing, but it's just a lot of good sculpting. But this thing is just awesome. I mean, look at how big it is. I mean, he actually looks like he could go toe-to-toe with the Juggernaut. I can't speak this thing's praises enough. I was, you know me, I was about to swear them off completely because I had been getting a lot of duds from them, but this one won me back. I don't see a whole bunch of clear plastic pegs. All the joints work. Nothing was frozen on this thing. I don't know what to tell you, what else to tell you about this. It's just one of those sculpts that they just hit the nail right on the head. I mean, it looks better to me than the artwork. And that's not to take anything away from Greg Capullo. I love his artwork. Like I said, I've loved his artwork for years. But this thing looks like he could take on whatever and stand a chance. I'm not saying he will always win it, but it looks like this will give him a better chance of winning, because if he gets his hands on you, it's over. This thing actually looks like it could actually match his speed. It kind of reminds me of, there was an episode of Batman Beyond where Bruce had to actually come out of the cave and team up with Terry. And he had this suit that transformed around his body, you know, and he was huge and everything. It feels like that. And it was fast, like he moved at a higher speed than, you know, probably what Bruce would normally move at because he's an old man in that suit. So yeah, this is a win. This is like 1,000% win in the sculpt, the paint department, actually everything. So as you could tell from the other pictures, he's really posable. They did a really good job making the sculpt and the articulation actually work together, and he looks dynamic and pretty nice from any pose, you know, any angle. Uh, I love the stature. Even though the head is kind of hunched forward, it still looks good. Now, if you're clever with how you move the helmet around, because the helmet is only held together by a little stress, it's like a collar, an extra collar in the very back that kind of, I don't know, it hugs the inside of the helmet. But if you turn the helmet on that axis, you can actually get it to stay a little bit stuck on. And then for some poses, you just have to accept the fact that it's about to fall off. You know what I'm saying? Like, just let it dangle there for the sake of the photo, you know, because there's a couple photos I did where you couldn't see that it wasn't really hooked on. But it's masterful the way they sculpted this thing with articulation. It actually works. There are a number of spots where, I shouldn't say a number, it's mostly the inside of the shoulder joint, and I'm going to show you a detail of that in a little bit. This is as far as his arm can move upward, outward, you know. The shoulder pad kind of gets in the way. There's like a bump up there. This is how far straight out in front you can put his arms up at the top. There's nothing obstructing that. You could probably do a full 360. I see no reason to do that because Batman's arms are inside of that. Why would you do that? Whatever. You don't want to break Batman's arms. He's got a single joint at the elbow. Now, with oversized figures, I don't see why they don't put double joints on everything, you know, but I guess this is sturdier. Realistically, it is. It'll last longer. Now, if you look at the inner portion of his, you know, shoulder joint, it's, you know, a ball, what do they call that? A swivel peg or ball, yeah, swivel peg type deal. But anyway, when you extend it, you see sculpting go all the way, you know, out like that. And it's pretty cool as the, you know, the sculpting is exposed when you open out your arm, and then when you pull your arm back in, it closes back up, which looks good. The fingers, just like the Sentinel figure from the old school Marvel Legends, every single finger is articulated all the way down to the very tips of the fingers. They're all articulated from the knuckles all the way down. I didn't see that coming. I didn't even see the need for them to do that, but it is. And they're metal pegs. They're not, at least they look like metal. They could be silver pegs, but they look like metal pegs. Anyway, the helmet, kind of like what I was describing earlier, or exactly how I was describing shit earlier. The helmet, it's held on by a little bump in the back that kind of creates stress. You can turn it. You will see gapping because it's meant to sit in one direction. I'm assuming if you, you know, if you get into the psychology, or not psychology, but the function of this suit, just like your car, certain cars have the, you know, camera, the rear-facing cameras. He probably has sensors and cameras and shit that help him see on all, you know, angles. So there's no need for the head to actually turn. But if you need that for the sake of your, you know, your picture or your story or whatever, you can do it. You just got to be clever with it. The helmet is easily removable. And as I showed you in the previous portion, I replaced the Bruce Wayne head with an angry Batman head. The head is actually held on there by a dumbbell joint or barbell joint. You know, it's got two bulb pieces, one in the base, one in the head. So he has more range of motion with his head than any of the DCUC versions of Batman. Like, none of my Batman, my DCUC Batman, can actually look all the way down without use of the, you know, ab crunch. This one, he can look all the way down, all the way up. You can even do what ODC does it a lot. ODC, that's me. Where you kind of tilt their head over. I did it with I like to do it with my DC Direct figures because a lot of them, or DC collectible figures, because a lot of them can do it. But that kind of like, you know, like Batman's kind of like, yeah, right. Just pissed off, you know. The left to right, no problem. There's no obstruction. You have plenty of space. Batman's big old chin doesn't get in the way. It just looks good. It's strange, you know. My only gripe with it, and it's something I can fix, is that the neck itself is flesh colored. So it makes him look like he's wearing the Christian Bale headpiece and not the rest of his costume. He's naked under there. You know what I mean? Like, Batman, please, you're scaring the children. Batman looks at you like, huh? Anyway, the the torso, he has just kind of a diaphragm joint, so to speak, but it's actually a full diaphragm joint. It works in all the directions, so you can twist it if you want to twist it, and it's very like thick feeling. I mean, when I say thick, it feels like there's no ratchets, but you can feel that it's not going to break under the weight of you turning it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, and I felt like this with maybe, I'm trying to think what larger figure. Some of the Marvel Selects sometimes feel kind of like you want to be careful with that joint. Or some of the Hulk, that's who it was. The Hulk from Hasbro, from the Avengers movie series. He felt kind of like you don't want to work it to the side too much or it'll break. But anyway, this is him standing at the side. This is a crunch. So like I said, that diaphragm joint has full motion in every direction. You can twist it on the one axis, but then you can also lean forward. He has no problem leaning back. He doesn't lean back that much, but I mean, he leans back to almost a perfectly straight chest out kind of position. You can do a little bit of the side to side motion, as you'll see. And like I said, it feels sturdy. I don't feel like anything is going to give anytime soon. I mean, if it does, I'll be really sad, but what I'll do is put a screw in there and then it'll never break. I mean, probably the actual plastic of the figure will break before the screw does. But as you can see, side to side is no problem. The legs. The legs are the only place that I have a point of contention. And you know me, I'm very particular about this. And, you know, when you compare this to Japanese figures like SH Figuarts, there's like no excuse for this shit. You should know by now that it works. So he has Y-jointed hips. So you have to twist the leg first and then make him, you know, pull it up. I hate Y-jointed hips. I understand that they thought that maybe this will help angle the figure's weight better, but you could have made the thigh joints actually, or hip joints, I'm sorry, up further, you know, just sculpt the pelvis a little bit different. So like when you normally pull his leg up just the way it is, you end up with this, but they gave him a lower a lower thigh swivel so that you can angle his foot so it doesn't look so strange. The weird thing is the shape of the thigh will still look weird, but then, you know, because it's armor, I guess you can kind of get away with it because they sculpted it kind of in a way that it looks kind of the same no matter what. I mean, there's lines and paneling, but, you know, he's got double jointed knees. They're strange though. That was the only part of the figure that was kind of stuck for me, but the proof that they're double jointed is you can see in the back that there are, and I'll show you that in a second. You can see in the back though that there's like two joints, like two openings for the joint to bend twice, and that's the only way that this would work with that fake, the front of the knee being all like, because he has like the knee pads just like the regular Capullo Batman does, or you know, the New 52 Batman. But anyway, you can see the, you know, the inside piece. Also, he has a boot swivel. So right at the base of the knee, you know, where his boot should start, you could swivel his foot further in case you just want to, I don't know, make him pigeon-toed. I don't know. Or maybe you want to make his punch, you know, a cross or a straight, or even an uppercut, you know, look powerful with the proper follow through. He has a ball jointed feet. At first I thought they were the same as the Bruce Wayne figure and the same as, you know, the Capullo Batman. I wish the Capullo Batman, and this is the first Capullo Batman I'm talking about, I wish that they had, you know, ball jointed feet, because then no matter how you stand him, you could always get his feet flat. Instead, he's got the most wobbly, you know, single hinged feet that I have of almost all my figures, next to the old Marvel Legends that I've had for many years and played with before I was like thinking about like seriously completing any collections or anything like that. But as you can see, that's as far as I can get his legs apart, you know, and not look goofy, and his feet will stay flat. So, you know, it's good articulation, really good. Okay, so if you noticed, I skipped a piece of articulation on the articulation part, and that's the wrist. He has wrist articulation, but because of the forearm covers and you know, braces or whatever you want to call them, you can't really twist the arm or the wrist. So I don't see what the point of that was. I mean, they can say they had it, but it doesn't really do anything. And then, of course, the wide jointed hips. Not only was there, that's the only place where there was paint issues, is the freaking, you know, wide jointed hip joint. I hate wide joints. I hate them. They're my least favorite thing on a lot of figures. A lot of times it's a deal breaker for me, because I play with my figures. Even if it's just for the first couple weeks when I first get them, I play with them. The next thing, I like this head sculpt. It definitely looks like Capullo's work, or like an essence of Capullo's work. I just wish that they had given him a Batman head under there. But, you know, if you have Batman stuff, if you are a Batman collector, that's an easy fix for anybody. So, you know, or any of you Batman collectors. So, you know, that's it. It's my nitpicks. So the bottom line is, this here is one of those figures that it's just so well done that you can't ignore that this thing exists. If you play with your Batman figures, this thing will stand up to some play. It's pretty heavy. I mean, I'm not saying throw the damn thing everywhere. Be smart, but it will stand up to some play. It's $40, so you should be prepared to put down some coin for this figure. But it's worth it, and you can see where it went. I mean, you just look at the sculpt. If this was just a statue, I'd be like, yeah, that's a ridiculous amount of work that went into this statue. I am cool with paying whatever the price is. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to respect quality art, and this is a piece of quality art, functional quality art. It's funny because it's just, I don't know, looking at it, I come up with so many little situations, so many little things I could do with the suit if I decide to play with it, or when I am going to play with it. I just see all these scenarios that just, I don't know, it works. You know, I don't have any issues with this besides, you know, those nitpicks that I pointed out. One is an issue because I hate redundant articulation. It's a waste of engineering. It's a waste of resources. Why bother? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you don't need it, don't do it. And, you know, I never get that with my Japanese figures, but you always, you know, or I shouldn't say always, but you frequently get that with American figures. But even so, this is worth it. So if you see it, pick it up. It is in stores right now. I am STRYDENT. This has been my story, and I'm sticking to it. I will see you in my next review, and I hope you dug this one. So, special thanks to my homeboys at Capital City Comics. You guys are awesome. And I will catch the rest of you on the next video. Peace.